Hello everybody, Attack Power here with another Steel Division 2 deck building video and review here with 12th SS. Let's dive right in here to this once terrible division, but now maybe not so much. It's definitely got a couple things going on here that I feel like it's in a solid place. It's not an incredible division by any stretch, but I definitely think it's a pretty, I would put it like high B tier at the moment. I think that's about where it stands. Now, when all the balance changes come in Duke Pass and stuff, I I do see this division moving up a little. I'm not gonna lie. But you know, will it be S tier? Certainly not. But it does have a lot of good strengths. It doesn't have a ton of super glaring weaknesses outside of honestly the standard ones that most German Panzer divisions have. Outside of that, division plays pretty strong. Let's dive right in here. So first off, I am building it balanced because it does work that way. Now, if you're playing competitively, you probably should be playing Maverick. It's not exactly like the greatest balanced deck that's ever balanced, but you know me, if the option is available, I'm probably playing balanced. So that's why I'm doing it. Again, that's not really an argument for this is the best way to build it for sure, but this is the way I like it. You're watching the channel, get over it. So let's dive in here. So A phase, we got the SPW 231 coming in. I mean, these are phenomenal. Really shouldn't leave these at home. Along with the SPW 233. Same thing, especially in A phase. Like, you want these to kill some transports and stuff. They do quite well. Why do we single vet them? Because 6 of these is a little excessive. Like, their effect does diminish rapidly. We've talked about this many times before. There is very real diminishing returns on a unit such as this. The SPW 231, not as much. Because these can, like, sprinkle around. And really, you're trying to avoid combat with them. Which means a lot of times they're living longer and stuff. You need closer range, so you're staying away from like longer range danger units. The SPW 233 on the other hand, it's not really a super close range unit. You know, you actually kind of want to have a little bit of distance between this and whatever you're trying to kill. And the issue that creates is then you run into other units that like sitting at that range, including tanks and AT guns, both of which, you know, kill this very quick. So that's kind of... I don't see myself ever taking an SPW 233 in B phase. I just don't. I don't think that's where this unit lives. The SPW 231, that can go wherever. But the reason we have it in A phase is because in B phase we have an SPW 222 with the Aufkläder. We're one vetting it. I don't think I need more than 10 of these autocannon cars, quite frankly. But, you know, and the extra vengeance on my recon, more importantly, is helpful. But, you know, if you want to, you can. Actually, you can't. That is why I didn't. That is the real reason, because you only get 6. Now, the question is, why don't we flip these? Why don't we put the Aufkläder in A phase? You get 4 of them unvetted. And then, hit the little button that makes my mouse more sensitive. And put the SPW 231 in B phase. You end up with 12 instead of 10. You get more. Argument here is that the Aufkläder in B phase on for the long game is more valuable than the 2 extra autocannon cars overall in the game that you get if you put the Aufkläder in A phase. Also, the cost is the same, so that does not matter. So yeah, I would prefer the extra recon for the long game. That's, of course, playing balance. That's what I'm shooting for. Things we're not taking. Motorcycle, for the same argument. We're always not taking the motorcycle. More Aufkläder. I mean, they come in other fun stuff, I suppose. I'm trying to... Wait, what? Yeah, I was going to say, why does it say there's 6? I see one right here. So there's not 6 available. That's weird. Anyway, yeah, so other things he could come in. The SPW 221, this is okay, honestly. It's not great. But if you are playing against a very heavily light armor division, where like they just have tons of annoying little light armor, like the little Dushka trucks and M2A1 half tracks and stuff. This is a nice unit. I mean, it gets the job done. It does stuff. Is it amazing? No. But is it there? Yeah. It's something I would consider in that sort of situation. The next slot is 2 points, so you could shuffle things around and find that. I'm not taking this into the usual queue. It's not that good, but definitely something to be aware that is there and is not like the worst thing that's ever existed. It's not good. Like, let me make sure that's clear. But we're definitely below the good line. But we're not in the god-awful never take it category either. Spare troop, nothing. Waste. STK of Z 250/9. I mean, if you want more autocannon effect, more of this unit, it is available. I mean, you can like I said, if I was playing a Maverick build of this, I would definitely consider, filling this out more, and more SPWs would be top of the list. Honestly, like if I was making a more aggressive version of this, I'd probably be taking this, and having these spam everywhere. Because when you play really aggressively, you do kind of want more of these armored cars. They have a bit more of an effect because you're getting up close, you're being aggressive. I feel they play, and you burn through them faster. You kind of throw them around a little more. So, yeah. Panzer IV-J, you don't need, it's fine. You just don't need it. You can get more Panzer IVs in the tank tab if you really want them. Boita Firefly, great stats. I mean, it's got radio and everything, 110 points. It's whatever you call it, Firefly. But you only get one. And I just think I think the points are better spent elsewhere. You don't need this effect in this deck. You've got Panthers out the butt. And Panthers do very similar to this for slightly more cost. And just do it better. So, for the Allies, this is a necessity. For the Axis, not really. Off-color Panther D, it's good. There's nothing wrong with Recon Panther, but you can get higher veterancy amounts in the tank tab of this exact same unit. I would prefer the veterancy over the Recon on this when it really comes down to it, so that's why I don't think it's necessary to force this fit into this tab here. Infantry tab. There's not a ton to talk about here. There is nothing special about this infantry tab other than every infantry unit having fanatical. Do the leaders have fanatical? They do not. It's important to note. They do not, nope, the leaders do not. So that is something to be wary of. The leaders do not have fanatical, but everyone else does. So that means, if you don't know, fanatical means these units will not surrender under any situation. There's absolutely no situation where this unit will surrender. In other words, that whole they get within this, 100 meters, they're pinned down, they surrender. That will not happen with this deck. Now, how much of an effect does that have on the game? How much does that matter? I'll be honest, it actually ends up mattering a lot. It is super annoying to have to manually kill every single infantry unit. Like, it takes a very long time to wear down every single squad all the way to 0. It's something you don't actually do that often in high level play. Most of the time you're pinning and players are falling back, or they're, you're running forward to get them, etc. Especially wood fighting, when you're in the woods. That is not possible against 12th SS, and that is quite frustrating, and it means your units do have a lot more survivability. They do tend to stick around a lot longer because they're not getting surrendered, so they're just stickier. And if your opponent doesn't finish off every single unit, you fall back, and it's still standing there. Okay, and the thing is, you get time to fall back. You get time to make mistakes because of that fanatical thing. So that is what that fanatical trait does, and it is quite strong. Now, does it make this infantry tab super high quality? No. These are still the same base units. They just have fanatical slapped on every one of them. So here in A phase, we're taking the Pioneer for you, Sturm Pioneer, Panzergren with the Panzerfaust, and another Panzergren with the Panzerfaust. Why am I doing it this way? Yeah, I hate this. I'm gonna fix this. I'm gonna put one without Panzerfaust. We're gonna put one with Panzerfaust in B phase. I do not want to be running out of AT in the last phase. Okay, so there we go. That's fixed. So one Panzerfaust, one not Panzerfaust. The not Panzerfaust one will come in the half track, and the Panzerfaust one will come in the truck. Okay, it's being a little difficult right now. Get back here. No. There we go. Got it. Also be aware you have the choice between the Opel Blitz and the KFZ. Take the Opel Blitz. It's faster. That's like literally just straight up. It's better. There's no argument to be had about it. And you have plenty of Opel Blitz available, so use it. B phase, more Sturm Pioneers, and another Panzergren with the Panzerfaust. And finally, C phase, Pioneers, and the Panzergrens once again. I mean, there's really nothing else here. There's more Panzergrens, more Pioneers. So, is it a good infantry tab? No. Is it a much more frustrating infantry tab to have to fight through? Absolutely. And you do get 8 slots. Like, it's not like a small... It's really not small at all. It's a very generous tab. You're just not getting anything outside the usual Panzer Grenadier, Panzer options. Now, the tank tab. This is a strong tank tab. You got a lot going on here. Now, we are lacking in light armor, but we make up for that with a strong recon tab, so it's not a huge deal, but be aware, you're basically medium-heavy options here is what you're looking at. A phase. We have a double vet card of Panzer IV. H, going with the H variant, doing their thing. We have a Panther D leader with 1 veterancy. We like that. We like that a lot. And then we have the Panzer IV H Ace. Kretschmer? I don't know. It's exactly the same as the Panzer IV. People often ask, do Ace units actually make a difference? The answer is no. They are just cosmetic. Do they seem to die faster than everybody else? Yes. Is that just a weird bias we all notice? Yes. It's only because we're paying attention to it more. So, yeah. Then another Panther D card. And then C-Phase Panzer IV-H and another Panther D card. My God, you can get a lot of Panther Ds in here. So, we come to the good old argument. Panther, Tiger, Panther D, Tiger E, Panther G. What we are missing here is the Panther A. We do not have Panther A. And the Panther A is a better argument than the Panther G. Okay, that's my firm opinion here. Now, we know why we're not taking the Tiger. The Tiger is quantifiably worse than the Panther in all variants of the Panther. It is unfortunate, but that is the truth. The Tiger is slightly... Now, when comparing to the Panther D, we do get 5 more millimeters of armor, a lot more side armor, but the gun is just so much worse, categorically worse, than the Panther gun. It's really hard to argue for the Tiger over it. It's just hard to, because you're just not killing things as consistently. Yes, it's still a pretty high pen gun, but you notice the difference between these two guns a lot when you are fighting other Tigers and Panthers. Like when you are up against a Tiger and Panther, you wish you had Panthers over the Tiger so much. It's not even equivalent. That 20 millimeters of pen is a huge determining factor of who wins those fights. So the side armor doesn't really come up a ton at the end of the day. If your unit's getting side-shotted, it's getting side-shotted and you're probably getting pen. It's just kind of how it is. You got to avoid that. The front armor of 5 millimeters, not making a huge difference. You know, again, what these units are fighting should be heavier tanks. And at those calibers of guns, that 5 millimeters is making no difference. And this is enough armor to block any average medium tank or lighter AT in either case. So the armor difference makes very little change. Again, the big difference is that rate of fire and penetration. You get another rate of fire on the Panther, which is huge. Now, the Tiger does do a little bit more HD damage, but we don't need HE damage here. It's not a necessity. It would be cool to take the Whitman here because he's got cool camouflage. That's it. Panther G, I just don't find it worth spending 10 extra points for APCR. Or 10 more millimeters of armor. That's the difference. You get APCR and 10 more millimeters of armor. I just don't. The APCR gets used so little, so infrequently, and the ranges you have to use it at for it to actually be effective, which is like 1,000 meters, is so... It's just not normal to be at that range at the unit you need to kill. In other words, what is this APCR for? There are like 3 units in the entire game this APCR is for. 4, maybe. The IS-2, King, Tiger, Elephant, Jumbo. I'm trying to think of any other super heavy tank. I think there's like a couple super niche ones outside of that. But truly, those are the 4 units you're going after. Those are the 4 you might actually run into. We can even scrap the Jumbo from that. It's really those top 3. How often are you getting within 1,000 meters of those tanks with this 140-point tank to use the APCR in an effective way? And on top of that, once you get in that range, okay, you fire your first shot. Great, you pen, you do 4 damage. Hopefully you get a crit. Probably isn't killing it though. It's probably still a very dangerous unit. The IS-2 turns, 1 shot's your Panther. Great job, you just pissed away 140 points. Like, it doesn't play out well in most situations. That is why I just do not think this unit is worth it over any other variant of the Tiger or Panther. If this is your only option, fine. It fills the role, whatever that, the niche of being a 2K heavy tank. Like, great. But it's not, I would take it over the Tiger, probably, in most cases, but I don't think it's worth it over the Panther D. The Panther D is great because of its higher availability. That's why I love the Panther D. I like it over the Panther A because you get higher veterancy and you still get a fair amount of availability, which is really, really nice. Now, things we're not taking. Ooh, that's tempting. I can't resist having tons of tanks. I have a hard time resisting high numbers. The Panzer IV is better than the Panzer J because of turret turn speed, etc., etc. But you get 5 more here in B, and that is really neat. So, yeah. That's why I have it built this way. Yep, there's really no other discussion. I just think that's the way to go. Support tab. This is great. We have a nice support tab here. Flammenwerfer, IG-18, MG-42, some ammo, and the IG-33. I am bringing it in B phase. Now, we could spam IG-33s here. We do have the option to take 2, and I'm actually a little upset I'm not. Let's go for it. All the 2K HE. Yeah, I mean, your options between the IG-18 and the IG-33. I like the IG-18. I don't have an issue with it. But for 15 points more, I have a unit that deletes enemies and has 500 meters more range. The heat shell in the IG-18 is poor performing at best, as everybody knows. It is no OB-25. And yeah, I mean, this is a lot more like, I don't care if it dies, but this requires the opponent to make different plays, right? Like the IG-33 is a unit the opponent has to play around and plan for and like kill. The IG-18 does not have that effect. So yeah, IG-33 is probably the right choice. I feel pretty good about that. Things we're not taking. There's absolutely no disheartening in this deck, so there's no reason to take this. Panzer, terrible, kind of has been terrible. You don't need to take it. We move on. We talked about the IG-18, MG-42. Always nice to have more of them. We just don't really have room for them. We are not taking a commander. I'm not a huge fan of vehicle commanders. They're a lot less hideable and maneuverable. Well, they're more maneuverable, obviously, but they're a lot less hideable, and that's the big issue. And I don't see myself spending this much to get a commander out in this deck, generally speaking. Although, if I had to take one, I'd probably take the Panther because, technically speaking, you are getting a commander for only 60 points, right? It's a 130-point unit. You're getting, for 60 points more. It's coming with that commander trait. And now, boom, you have what is essentially a free commander, a free tank on it. But, again, it's a high-risk unit. Right? Obviously, if you lose it, you're losing nearly 200 points and your commander. Not great. And it's hard to spend 190 points and not expecting it to fight at all. Like, that's pretty brutal to do in general. Anti-tank. A very limited tab and expensive at that. So we are taking a Panzer and a Pack 40. That's it. I would love to pick Jagdpanzer IVs. Love this unit with all my heart. But the Panthers are filling the same role, doing the same thing. Yes, they are more expensive, but it's not worth forcing these in for units that are more flexible. Like, you want some amount of Panzer. You want some static AT of some sort. It's hard not to have any static AT at all. It really is. It really cramps the style. But I'm like, the Pack 40A, I don't find myself calling in Pack 40s a lot in the late game. I just really don't. Especially when I have tanks that can do a similar thing. So, A phase is the place for these to be. Anti-air tab. So, very good anti-air tab. You got Mobile Wagon, Flak 36, 37 mil, and then a Wirbelwind, which is a fun, unique unit that very few divisions have access to. Now, it is exactly the same as SDK of Z71, except that it actually has a bunch of armor. That is the only difference. I don't know. Experienced players, let me know. Does this unit have medium tank health? In other words, 10 health. I want to say yes. I want to say this unit can survive a shot from a regular tank gun, which is pretty key because that means you can actually use this unit really aggressively. If you want to actually go kill infantry with it, it can do that. Obviously, the infantry can't shoot at it, and it can take a hit and you can run away and never bring it back to the front line ever again. So that's what makes this unit quite strong. Things we're not taking: 20 mil, terrible. 88, terrible, and absolutely no role for it in this deck because you have, tanks doing all the ATing. This just is a bad AA piece at that point, especially when you have phenomenal AA piece options instead. Arty tab, really quite good at the end of the day. You have some great choices here. 81 mil mortar, half track, does the thing it always does. Batterie Feu, Werframen, 280. These are not my favorite by any stretch, but they are effective at what they do. They pin things down. They can kill super heavy tanks. The big issue is the range. You have to almost be within regular range for this to do its thing. Now, there are certain maps this unit thrives on. Example, Orsha East. Really nice unit on that map. Why? Because the hill covers this. You can get really close, and you can actually have really super accurate volleys of this onto very specific targets really safely because of the way the terrain is mapped on that map. Maps where this is not as great, actually you're looking at something like Slitswesk because there's a lot of open space. This unit has a hard time getting closer to what it wants to kill. Like on Slitswesk, you're probably using this to kill some sort of super heavy or heavy tank out in the open, which it can absolutely do. The issue is you got to get pretty darn close to actually do that effectively. So, it loses a lot of its potency. Still has a role, can still pin down things and all this stuff, but a lot of times what people use this for is actually to kill some sort of high health key unit that you don't want to have to come up against. So that's what this does most of the time. And then C phase, we have our good old 150 millimeter artillery. It does what it does. It's not the best thing ever, but it is very solid. We're not taking the Beobachter. Plenty of radio. 81 mortar. Why ever over the radio? One of the worst arty pieces in the game. Don't take it. Not great either when you have way better options. The SK-18 is wonderful. I'd probably try to shove this in if I had more points. This SDKFZ, way less ammo. We talk about it all the time. More 150s, more Hummels, more Werframens. More Werframens to me feels a little excessive. They're not that incredible. And the 150 gives us a little bit more actual. This is you get a mortar, a rocket, and an arty. It's a really nice arty tab. Air tab, not great. It's not great. It's got some solid tools, but it is not phenomenal. It's very one-dimensional. We have a Focke-Wulf 190A8. This is a great fighter. Nothing wrong with this at all. Really nothing to complain about. Actually, I'm just going to move this to no vet. The veteran seat difference on the plane is so minimal. It's so minute. I just don't think it's worth it. But Focke-Wulf 190A8s are phenomenal. One of the best fighters in the game. Well-rounded, fast, medium resilience, great loadout. You can't ask for much more from a fighter. It's just great. Then, B phase. We're taking the Focke-Wulf 190G3. First off, love the paint scheme on this. Looks cool. This is not a great fighter bomber. I'm going to put that out there immediately. The problem is you don't have a whole ton of other options that are good. We have the Focke-Wulf 190G1, which has a bigger bomb, but slower. Actually does less damage overall because it's one bomb versus three. Half the size. This ends up being, technically 18 damage, where this is 12 damage, and this is actually 2 bombs, so it's actually doing 9 twice. So it's just not better that way. Cool paint scheme. Also, the Focke-Wulf 190G3, you can turn off one of the bombs, and you can actually make 2 bombing runs with this if you are experiencing no AA, right? So if your opponent has under-deployed AA, you can actually get 2 solid bomb runs out of the Focke-Wulf 190G3, and that's pretty powerful. Not gonna lie, that's pretty darn good. But again, you have to be careful. This is a very expensive plane for bad resilience. The speed is good, the loadout is good, but this gets forced out of the air pretty quickly, unless you're really focused firing on AA, which in this deck you're probably not. This is just expensive tab too. Other things we're not taking: recon plane. It's fine. There's nothing wrong with this recon plane. It's actually a very good recon plane. You get very good resilience. It's fast. You get 2 of them, 60 points. I mean, this is actually a phenomenal recon plane. But the slots are so expensive. I just can't. I can't do it. I'm sorry, I can't do it. Focke-Wulf 190 G3 R1. This is not a good fighter. It's slow, bad resilience. It's got a lot of damage output, like a ton, but it's not that much more than the Focke-Wulf 190 A8. And the availability in this is actually bad. Like, there's nothing about this unit that's very good, honestly. Now, the JU-188 is a great heavy bomber. The problem is this loadout sucks butt, and therefore I'm not taking it. The availability is actually not great either. But yeah, I mean, if you don't like your Focke-Wulfs dying, this is the unit to take. But yeah. Now, the only other unit I actually am considering is the Focke-Wulf 190 A8 R6. This has the 2 rockets. This is the same stats as a Focke-Wulf 190 A8 fighter. It's slower, obviously, right? But otherwise, it is identical. I would replace this with this most likely. The increased resilience and survivability because you're using a rocket instead of bombs is significant and not something to discount. But the rockets are way less potent, far less consistent, and do not often kill what you need to kill. So, you know, weigh those pros and cons with what you would like, but there is an argument for the 190 A8 over the G3. So yeah, this is 12th SS in balanced build. Again, if you're going Maverick or Vanguard, more recon, filling up those SPWs and stuff. Probably less IG-33s. Definitely one less card of infantry, at least. So you cut that back at 4 points. You can easily add more tanks and more recon here. Maybe even more arty. I'm not sure. Maybe another plane. That's honestly where I would shift most of these things around to. If you guys enjoyed this, smash that like button, subscribe, check out the Patreon or YouTube membership down below. Thank you to everyone who's already there. It really does mean a lot. And I hope you all have a fantastic day.